is Koiches Pnimim B'Yetzem, right? The first Bible was a Machon. Perek Beis Gimel Dal was a Machon. Starting Perek Hey is a Nimshal, Atzilus. And in the previous Perek Zayin, he reminded us of that aspect in the Machon, that the Koiches are Pnimim B'Yetzem. And he started to explore the question of what it means that the Koiches are Pnimim B'Yetzem. In order to explain the question of Koiches Pnimim B'Yetzem, sorry world. Stupid. Yeah, you can go. He presented us with a shaila, and it's the same shaila you have in Samach. The same shaila you have in Samach. And the shaila is that there's a stira really in Psukim. Is Atzilus Gili Ahelim and Atzilus Yeshman. You have mamish in the end of a chodesh. The same shaila you have here. The nafkamin isn't that a chodesh goes off on all of these tangents. Over here, he doesn't leave the subject, which makes it easier to learn in this prat. He brings Rayas, the primary pasuk which supports the idea that Atzilus is Gili Ahelim is the pasuk by Moshe Rabbeinu. V'atzalti min haruach asher alecha v'atzalti aleim. And the primary pasuk that supports the idea that Atzilus is Yesh Mayayin is the pasuk. Okay, so Perek Ches on page Tezayin begins Achei Temimim. The question remains. In other words, since for most of the previous Perek, most of Perek Zayin, the Gilei Helam part was maybe 8 lines on page Yudalit. The whole rest of it was arguing the idea of Yesh Mayayin based on the quote from the Alter Rebbe that Yesesh en Erech Asil Gabi Atzilus Gabi Erin Save. Like I said in the beginning of Perek Zayin, which is Gili Ahelim. Atzilus is proximate. Atzilus is close to Ein Seif, right? It's Gili of Ein Seif. Ein Zeh is Chachus. It's not in a way of newness. It's Chachus with me, Yesh Mayayin, which is the other side. V'hachochma Mayayin Timat. Says the Marechas ben Getin from Atzilus. That Atzilus learn is Chadish David. Nothing is added in Atzilus. Reaction is Galakech HaKomas. Now you guys are aware, and I'm not going to go into this, but there's Rabbi hand on the table, that there's 3 Shitas in Atzilus. Right? There's a Drush in Tzemach Tzedek called Gimel Shitas. The Drush Gimel Shitas is printed now in Erateda in Yonim. It used to be printed in a sefer which you cannot buy anymore. It's called Derech Mitzesecha Chelik Sheni. The Rebbe never reprinted Derech Mitzesecha Chelik Sheni, because Derech Mitzesecha Chelik Sheni was not a Derech Mitzesecha. It was just a way of getting around the censorship. He printed a bunch of Maimonim. If he had called it by a new title, he had to go through a new census. So he called it Derech Mitzesecha. My brother has a copy of it. He bought it someplace. McKenna's Nish Koif. The Rebbe never reprinted it. The Maimonim printed in other places because it's not Derech Mitzesecha at all. And the Maimed Gimel Shitas is printed now in Erateda in Yonim. It's based on one shot in the Padis. It's very interesting. The Gimel Shitas found in the Padis. And though I understand, some Machtarik Pasha took the Ramak, whatever shot it is, shot Vav, shot Zayin, and he copied the Ramak's words and he wrote notes on it. It became the Gimel Shitas. And basically the Gimel Shitas understand Atzilus. One Shita holds that even the Kelm of Atzilus are Meitzel. The other Shita holds that even the Edus of Atzilus are like Nivra. And the other third Shita is in between, which is our Shita. Right? The Edus, Mein Amoir, and the Caleb are separate. Mareches is the one who holds, Mareches the first Shita, that Atzilus is even the Caleb are Meitzel. So he quotes this Shita of the Mareches because he has the strongest Atzilus. The idea that Atzilus is Gilead Helam is strongest of the Shita Mareches. But don't worry about that. I'm just pointing it out. And bottom line is Vivakasha. Is Atzilus Yesh Me'ayin or is Atzilus Gilead Helam? And whatever you're going to say is going to be no good. If you're going to say Gilead Helam, you're going to have one problem. If you're going to say Yesh Me'ayin, you have another problem. And the Maimorim, the Samach Vav, as you guys are learning in the morning, is struggling to resolve this question. And the Rebbe answers the Teresis. The beginning of the answer to the question is understanding that Atzilus is a Mamutza between Ilibis and Ilkus. Not a boysai. Last year I taught the Bachrim Samach Tes In the Hemshech Samach Tes is also a big ariches, a very big ariches. I think it's 2 Homaimanim to explain how Atzilus is a Mamutza. But as you could expect, there's a very big difference between how he explains how Atzilus is a Mamutza over there, and he explains how Mamutza is a Atzilus over here. Basically, the difference is that in the Samach Tes, what makes Atzilus a Mamutza is that it's about worlds. In other words, the way the Samach Tes goes, Samach Tes is Das Laya, Das Tach. There's godliness that exists because of God. And there's godliness that exists because of world. Because there's Hashem, there's Eir. Because there's a world, there's a Tzimtzum and Eir. So the Eir which exists because of Hashem is Das Elyon, is the Ein of the Yesh Amiti. And the Eir that exists because there's later going to be a world is Das Tach, the Ein of the Yesh Hanivra. So the Rebbe introduces the word Mamutza. Mamutza means, even if you're a Lakus, if you're a Lakus Nemadrege, that because of you, later there's going to be Eilames, that makes you a part of Eilames also. So in the Samach Tes, when he talks about Atzilus being a Mamutza, the reason Atzilus is a Mamutza is because Atzilus is a world. Because Atzilus is a world. You follow? Atzilus is also a world. Because Atzilus is also a world, in order to have the lower world, you have to have Atzilus. So Atzilus becomes a part of world, becomes part of the ayin of the Yesh Hanivra, becomes the Das Tach. You follow? We're good? Yeah? I don't know who I'm talking to, yeah?
Yes.
Now wait, we had Mamutza before. Where did we have the Atzilus as a Mamutza? No. Did we have a Keser?
Yeah,
The Keser is a Mamutza. But now we're talking about Atzilus. On page Gimel. V'zeh the Atzilus Mamutza. Second paragraph, page Gimel. I want you to see the difference. A little bit. I think I'm right, but I don't know, because I'm going to do this the whole year. I'm going to keep on pointing out the differences. Yeah. How does the Rebbe say on page Gimel Atzilus Mamutza? For Gilui and Bia. You see, it's a difference.
That's like Samach Tes.
No. In Samach Tes, it's a Metzias, there should be Elames. In this Maimer, the Rebbe Rashab says that what makes Atzilus Mamutza, I have to find it. And until I find it, that Shir is not Oimid Alamdei. There's a Sugi in Chassidus, this is a Maimer Amud, which is called Iyo V'chayei V'gamei Echad in Bia. There's not just Iyo V'chayei V'gamei Echad, and Atzilus Iyo V'chayei V'gamei Echad also in Bia. I'm trying to find it. I can't just get in. Until I find it, I don't want to talk. But we said on page Yud Gimel, remember how the whole idea was that the Oira and Keli were slapshus for the sake of Yesh Mayayin. Remember that whole weird mushal? And why do you use that funny mushal of Oira and Keli being slapshus of Yesh Mayayin? Because it sets up Gilui. So in this Maimer, Atzilus the Mutzik is Megala Lakus Nevenis. I don't think it says that in Samach Tes. I think in Samach Tes it says Atzilus Mamutza because Atzilus sets up the Helam of Elames. I'm just showing you. And this is going to, if you pay attention, you'll see it again and again and again. That this is different. The high-end base is different. There's no doubt about it. Anyway, do you know how to get the air conditioning on or make this room breathable? You know how to do it? So in order to answer getting back to our point, in order to answer our question about how Atzilus could be both Gilia Helam and Yesh Mayayin, the Rebbe introduced what the Atzilus is Mamutza. But it's Mamutza lefi drush zeh, in the way our Maimer goes, which is a little bit different. It's a Mamutza for the sake of Gilui. Continues the Rebbe, read on. Okay. V'yadua, second line, it's known. The kol Mamutza. Anytime you have an intermediate between two things, if Atzilus is in between Atmos of Ein Sefer, Atzilus Alkus are higher than Atzilus, and Elam is Bia, has to include both ideas. And accordingly, Yesh Ba'Atzilus, Atzilus includes, number one, thank you sir, Mebechinas Ein Sefer Matzel, it includes a Lakus. A Lakus, Hamaitzel means that's higher than Atzilus, but Atzilus is called Ne'etzal. Higher than Atzilus is called Ma'atzil, right? It includes Ein Sefer that is higher than Atzilus. V'gam Mebechinas HaNevroim, it includes also El Mabrih. A Mamutza, to be in between two things, you have to include both. So if Atzilus is a Mamutza, It has to have an aspect of Atzilus, which is godliness, and it has to have an aspect of Atzilus, which is worldliness. And the boy said that's going to be the answer. The question is Atzilus Gili Ahelim, or is Atzilus Yesh Mayayin? The first answer is going to be the Eidus of Atzilus Gili Ahelim and the Kelim of Atzilus Yesh Mayayin. He's going to change his mind. He's going to change his mind. But the first answer is going to be, and L'chaydet finishes in the end of the next Maimon. In the end of the next Maimon, he's going to finish off that the Gili Ahelim of Atzilus is Oiros, and the Yesh Mayayin of Atzilus is Kelim. Okay? It's the light and the vessel of Atzilus. So I'm telling this to you now. Okay? You're going to see later that the Rebbe Rashab, in quote, is going to change his mind. But as it stands now, the answer will be, is Atzilus Gili Ahelim? The answer is yes. The Eidus of Atzilus is Gili Ahelim. Is Atzilus Yesh Mayan? The answer is yes. As far as the Kelim of Atzilus are concerned, it's Yesh Mayan. That's going to be the first answer. That's going to continue from this Mayan to the next Mayan. No, that's my job. That's my job. I'm not here for not making a fair drama. I just want to say this. Kelim is very hard to understand. Kelim is very hard to understand for a lot of reasons. And the number one reason it's hard to understand Kelim is because Kelim doesn't get as much attention as Eidus. For every 10 pages you have a Chassidus, and you have 1 page in Kelim, or less. I remember being a kid. I was a young boy. I was 16 and a half. And God knows I was trying. In those days I was like a Chassidus Shabbat. I was in Maristan 6 months. That's all it was. At a Melech, I saw the Melech. I was by his Verengenition. I had Yechidus with the Melech. But he once gave a Shir Klali, and I was a Nudnik. And he was talking about Kelim. I said, what's Kelim? I don't understand Kelim. What's a Kelim? I told you this already. Yeah. So he said, Kelim was halt. I said, what is Kelim? I must have asked him 3 or 4 times. So finally he says to me, you have to know the Melech. The Melech was very different than Rabbi Yael. He was a cool cat. He was always ultimate Riek. In other words, you didn't see the Melech sit in schwitz. Rabbi Yael could stop middle of a shir. I saw Rabbi Yael take a puff on a cigarette, 1 puff, and burn the whole cigarette out. By Chazor, he would concentrate. You never saw him concentrate like that. In Chazor, he had to remember Fabring edition. He's surrounded by 40 guys, and everyone is telling him what the Rebbe said. He's the only one who really remembers. If you're sure the one who understood, he would light a cigarette from a cigarette. It was hysterical to watch him. And the whole room was a chimney, and he was trying to remember. He literally smoked on in 1 puff. He'd concentrate. The Melech was a very different kind of man. The Melech knew everything. His yediyah was not normal. So he says to me, I said, yeah. That was the end of the conversation. Kelim are very hard to understand. They're real. Want me to put him down for you on the table? Oh, yeah. I said, yeah, I want to understand.
He said no?
That was the end of the conversation. I said, yeah, and we moved on. How are you supposed to put Kelim Atzilus down on the table, really? Kelim are very hard sugya. Well, this Pedic, and the next Maimid is to a great extent a discussion on Kelim. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I think that in Ayim Beis you have a lot of Kelim. I mean, in Samavav also. You guys are learning by Chachodesh, yeah? There's a whole Maimon on Kelim. The question of Gili Helm Yesh Me'ayim, which you're now asking, in one letter my modern, I think it's Kedoshim or Tazriya, there's going to be a whole Maimon that's going to ask the same question as it relates to Kelim of Atzilus. There's a discussion on Kelim also. But here there's a considerable conversation of Kelim. There's a considerable conversation of Kelim. And Kelim are Yesh Mayayin. So Rabbi said, before we read, I want to talk. Okay, I set myself a goal to read all the pieces on Kelim in these 2 pages, and it's a lot. It's more than half. I mean, my clock is not having Achmanis. I got 50 minutes. I need an hour, really. But I want to give you now a few minutes of an intro. I'm going to tell you Havon of Kelim, Beklos, the idea of Kelim as I understand it, Beklos, and then we're going to learn, okay? You need to understand something. And it's very important not to get tricked by the Maimorim. By the Maimorim do trick you, okay? There's only one source of Kelim, people. Kelim come from Atzmos. Period, the end, full stop. Conversation, no. Kelim don't have babies, you understand? Kelim don't become bigger, and Kelim don't become smaller. Kelim are like Avonim, like stones. They're diamond. If you study Chassidus, you will find, if you will study Chassidus, you will find that every single type of Keli which means Eises HaMaisa, Eises HaDibur, Eises HaMachshava, Eises HaMidas, Eises HaBina, Eises HaChochma, Eises HaRosna, Eises HaTainuk. Every imaginable kind of Keli and Eises, each one exists separately in Atzmos. Because Kelim don't have, the Kelim of a higher world don't have babies. The Kelim of Atzilus don't give birth to the Kelim of Bria. The Kelim of Atzilus came from the Eibishter. The Kelim of Yitzir Abriya came from the Eibishter. Kelim Yitzir came from the Eibishter. When I say the Eibishter, I mean Poshik Gepshutei Atzmos Motzei Tzavara. You rub your hand on the table. Now, otherwise, hear me out. Everybody understands the idea of Oyer. Oyer is mean Amoyer. Everybody understands it. We think we understand the Mitzvah of it. Oyer is one thing. But Oyer is Ein Seif. In Oyer you have Ein Seif. And if you learn the Maimonim, you know that Ein Seif includes Ein Seif. Svirus Ein Ketz. We know S is Svirus, but the Eibush Tekvayachal is Svirus Ein Ketz. And it's all included in the unity of Oyer, right? There's another side to Ein Seif. And the other side to Ein Seif is Metzias, is Kelim. And Kelim are Ein Seif. That means it's an infinite number of different types of an infinite number of different types of an infinite variety of possible kelim. Just like Oyer is Ein Seif possibilities, Ein Seif spheres, Ein Seif worlds, of which we know very little. Kelim are Ein Seif. But the difference is, Oyer, the way it's in Atzmos is one. Kelim, the way it's in Atzmos is Kelim, it's pieces. Atzmos has an infinite variety of an infinite number of different types of particles, for lack of words. Yep, that's how it goes. Not about then. Not about then. They're bottle. The nature of their bittul is such that they have no mitzvahs whatsoever. But when you see them later, when you go through Ishtalshalos, and in Ishtalshalos they become more and more of a mitzvahs, you should know they didn't happen in the middle of the road. They didn't magically occur, or it doesn't turn into Keli. Energy doesn't become a particle that works in physics. It doesn't work in Chassidus. When you see them in the middle of the road, now you're seeing their emergence, you're noticing them. But the makar of Kelim always, all of them, is Atzmos. Not they didn't save, not a higher madrega very safe, not a lower madrega very safe, not that in safe after the tzimtzum, not that in safe lifted the tzimtzum, Kelim and Oisis and Moshe and Atzmos. Period. Conversation over. Now the only quote that I know that supports this, that's brought, and it's weird because if you look in the Machon on this quote, also they have a hard time finding a source for it. There's no quote for this Lamaila. The only quote that we have that supports this idea is a quote which is said b'negeh to the neshama, and that quote is Hanefesh Atzma Maleya Oisis, or Hanefesh Maleya Oisis, not the word Atzma. It says in my modem, you see it in my Friedrich and the Rebbe Rashab, if you write, look at the Machon, yeah, Arik, Arik Raskin, who's Maven. You can see from his Machon whether it's an easy one or it's a hard one. This is a hard one. Who said first, Hanefesh Atzma Maleya? In Kabbalah, you don't find it. It's in Chassidus. Did the Alter Rebbe say it, or did it appear even later? McClare wegen them. Hanefesh Atzma Maleya, if you meet Atzmos Hanefesh, every ois, every keli, every word that any madrega nefesh will ever come out of the neshama exists in etzem mamish. But you must understand that that's how it is in the mashal of the neshama, and that's how it is in the nimshal amayla. Kelim come from atzmos. In atzmos, there is infinite pieces. And not infinite pieces of one type, infinite different types, and in each type there's infinite different possible asias. Frexeveg and achtos, the answer is they're so bottled over there, the Machon are mitzias. Now, I don't want to be ma'arech in this, and I still don't want to have vikuchim about this, but I'm just going to give you oisius. I saw this in Samachei and Shuas. I only saw it in one place. It could be a my sefer that I wrote down some Machon. B'klal, when you talk about oyer, the l'shoinus that used about oyer is etzav ispashtos, etzav ispashtos, hiyuli v'gili, helam v'gila. That's the issue with oyer. When you speak about kelim, the language used for kelim is klal prat. Because kelim are not hiyuli, kelim are mitzias. Aim but klal ela mash b'prat. So I saw it in Shvuas Samachei. I haven't seen it in probably 25 years. but it says over there in the beginning of the Hemshech that Kalim exist in Atzmos, not in a way of Helam V'Gil or Yuli V'Gil or Etzam Beis Pashtos, but an Eifin of Klal Prat. Because Kalim are pieces, and as high as the pieces become, they're still pieces. Never then they're bottled more, and they can be so bottled that they're Klal not a Metzias. But because when they later emerge, it's because in the Etzem those parts existed. It's not Helam V'Gil or Yuli V'Gil or Etzam and Pashtos. It's Klal Prat. This is the most important thing to appreciate. And this is what the Melech should have told me. So, lifting Gan Eden. Kalim come from Atzmus. All of the descriptions of Kalim happening and Kalim being created is not true. In this page you have Meis Avos Ha'ed Nasa Keli. The oil becomes denser and the Keli emerges after the Tzimtzum. You have that Tzimtzum Erishin creates a Roshim, a Rishimu, which is the Makar HaKelim. So after Tzimtzum Erishin Asias emerge, none of those statements are the way they sound. It seems to you that the Rishimu is the beginning of Kelim. It's not true. It's the beginning of the noticing of Kelim. It's the beginning of the emergence of Kelim. You need to understand, when Chassidus uses the word Mehis Havos with a Hey, right? Mehis Havos with a Ayin means that oil goes lower, you start to notice the Kelim. But when you use the word Mehis Havos with a Hey, which means to create, Kelim are created. From Atzilus to Bria, Kelim are created Yesh B'Yayin. What does that mean? That the Kelim didn't exist in Atzilus? Of course it existed in Atzilus. But in Atzilus they were Lakus. And in Bria they're Yesh. So the Yesh Me'ayin of Kelim, of Bria, from Atzilus, is Yeshes. It's not the Metzias of the Keli. The Metzias of the Keli is Ruud and Atmos.
So what is it, they salvos, what is that like that?
There's two different expressions, with an Ayin and with a Hey. His avos ha'ed, when the light becomes thicker, the keli emerges, is after the tzimtzum. The light goes lower because more revealed, so the kelim come out.
His havos kelim are from the tzimtzum.
His havos is like a yesh me'ayin type
thing. Like the actual.
That before the keli was not there.
It was there. There was not nick.
Now the keli is the metzias. So you say that it was created yesh me'ayin. So I'm explaining to you this. It is no such thing as from nothing into something. It's from the Eibishter. So what does it mean that the Keli was nothing? It's not like the oil magically turns into Keli. There's no magic. The Keli was bottled. And bottled in a state of dvekas, in a state of alakus. You know, you can be more bottled, you can be less bottled. You know what I'm saying? More bittel, less bittel. You get 6 brachim in a room, you get 6 madregas of bittel. You're more bottled, less bottled. Alakus is not bottled. Alakus is dvekas. Kelim of Atzilas are dvekas, they're alakus. Now, but now when you talk about Kelim, there's this weird idea called Dvekas built in the Kelim. If you met Kelim of Atzilus, they'd look like this bench. A shtikos. The nafkamin is the Kelim of Atzilus can hold all the kulas. And this bench can hold your supper. But you don't see the Dvekas. You don't see the bit. Kelim of Atzilus are Dvekas. And Dvekas doesn't mean bottle. Dvekas means more than bittel. Bottle means I exist and I'm serving. Dvekas means my whole idea, my whole existence is an expression of what the Eibishter is. Just like there's Oid Dvekus, Oid ain't safe, it's not bottle. Oid ain't safe is Dvekus, which is more than bittel. Oid ain't safe never says the word I, because it doesn't have an I. The I of Oid ain't safe is ain't chil, is the Eibishter. Kelim of Atzilus don't either say I, because Kelim are also Dvekas, no Lakus. It's a different kind of a lakus. It's a lakus and what's called dvekas built in nikir. So when you go from kelim of atzilus, which are lakus, to kelim of bria, which are yesh, that's yesh me'ayin. But the yesh me'ayin that you create a keli. Kelim are all mushish. Everything comes from the Eibishter. It's so simple. The Eibishter, like a little child, learns a chumash. The Eibishter created the world. It's still true of Kabbalah. Alas b'shaf. So when you speak about kelim being created yesh me'ayin, from Atzilus to Bria, the concept is that in Atzilus it was a lakus, and Bria it's yeshes. There's a dilog, the word that I keep using in the classes. There's a quantum separation between how a keli is a lakus to a keli is nivra. So it's yesh me'ayin, but yesh me'ayin doesn't mean from nothing. It doesn't mean from nothing. It means from kelim of Atzilus.
So like kostet yesh.
That's all.
Like
right. But you have to appreciate something really weird. The keli of Atzilus itself does not become the keli of Bria. There's no such thing. Hashem made separately in Atmos Kelim of Atzilos, Kelim of Bria, Kelim of Yetzira, Kelim of Asiya, and Kelim of this conversation you are having right now. And the Kelim of Ein Seif, Kelim of Teyu, and of Akudim, and of Ak. Any Madregi you want to talk about, the Kelim are created separately by Atzmos. So the Kelim of Bria don't happen from the Kelim of Atzilos. The Kelim of Bria are included in Atzilos. But they were always separate. Because every single individual Keli of every single individual type, from the beginning of Inside Chassidus to Inside Chassidus, was created directly in Atzmos. And Ishtalshus is simply revealing them. Kelim Abriya Lord in the Kelim of Atzilas. So when the Kelim Abriya includes us, you don't see Kelim, you don't see the Metzias. But when Kelim Abriya emerge in Kelim of Atzilas, they're not the babies of Kelim of Atzilas. They're Atzmos created the Kelim Abriya, just like they created the Kelim of Atzilas, but the emergence of those Kelim requires Yeshus, and the Yeshus begins in El Mabriya, so you see it in El Mabriya. What I just said is really simple. It's not so complicated. But I don't know how to say this. Meveis nish from them. People don't know this. This took me how many minutes? How much time did it take that? It took me 12 minutes to say what I just said. The truth is, what I told you is elementary. I went to yeshiva, asked me, explain it to me. No one would. And I really don't know the reason. Because it's not so complicated. It really isn't. You're trying very hard. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But the biggest mitzvah is skafia. It's why the highness abchav tzaddikim. Now you can ask me questions. Go ahead. Wait a second. Shleimer Ben Sion Shleimer. Go ahead.
Can you repeat what you were saying about Yerushalayim and Tzilus? About the Caleb?
I'll tell you a story. Here we go with the Dvar B'Telem. I was in Alei Shliach. This year it's going to be 40 years since I went on Shlichus. It's Shreklach. I went on Shlichus in Yud Hey Tamad on Shlichus started, Tafshin Mem Hey, and they finished Yud Beis Rivka Tafshin Mem Zayin. So this Hey Tamad will be 40 years since I ever done Shlichus in California. So we used to go every Shabbos, all 10 of us, to speak in a shul. I know everything is different now. B'chal, there was only one set of shluchah for the Zal and the Masif. It wasn't separate. And every Shabbos he spoke in a shul, and every Shabbos I did Masif Shabbos for the whole 2 years that I was there. There was a tkufa actually that I acted as a rabbi in Long Beach, in Los Alamitos, so we got in a bus and I would travel. But that's what every Shabbos spoke in a shul. Now, who wants Chabad Bachrim every single Shabbos in a shul? Shuls that need a 10th guy for a minyan. And there were plenty of those in L.A. On Fairfax, faced up by 3rd and 4th and 5th, there's plenty of shuls like that. Anyway, there was a shul in Beverly and Fairfax and 3rd, called Beth Etz Jacob, I think it was called.
Still there.
The Rav was Rabbi Katz, Sam Katz, Shmuel Katz, all over Shalom. He's gone a very long time. He was a Slabatka Talmud, a big Talmud Chacham. I have a great story with him and Josh Gordon. If you want to stick around after class or after Ma'adir, I'll tell you a gewaldige chassidische ma'aser from him. He didn't come to Shul Shabbos because he probably couldn't walk. I met him because I used to go shir in Beis Abchira there. So he would come during the week. He was a lam. He was a big lam. And a Litvish lam. And he loved the shluchim. He pushed loved the shluchim. But sometimes I was literally the 10th man. The average age of people in the shul was 78. The oldest guy was 89. The other was 70. So, there was a guy who had a car, a Cadillac, and he would take me home every once a Shabbos. As they even say. There was a couple. I wonder where they live now. They had a son who was probably in his 50s, 40s for sure. They were interesting people, very independent people, from people, but they had their own way of everything. And they lived in a motorhome. Erev Shabbos, they'd plug in the electric and the water to the shul, and they parked in the parking lot of the shul, and it was a win-win. They had a place to spend Shabbos, and the shul had a 10th man to a minyan. They would sit in the back of the shul, next to each other, other than Mechitza and Shushka the whole time. It's a big, gorgeous shul. We used to call them museums, you know. And I learned public speaking in these empty, I could have read the phone book. Who was listening to me? Anyway, I must have gone there for 3 or 4 months, for a long time. I got a letter from them. 3 or 4 pages, very angry, really angry. You could read it back like Braille. It was written with such a heavy pen. They paid attention to every single word, and I said in every single drasha, and made criticisms of everything. They were nuts.
Every week?
There was one letter with a whole regime of all the time, from all the time they had been speaking there. They were totally out of their mind. But every point they made was salient. It was true. They were not fools. They were just not normal. They were so upset. One of the tightness was, I said in one of my talks, God created the world out of nothing. So they wrote, there's no such thing as nothing, not even in your head. You have no idea how many times I've had that word. But you know what? They taught me a lot of things. Because there is no... God did not create the world from nothing. You know why? Because in the area of nothing, we're richer than God. We got more nothing than He does. If He created the world from nothing, we can make even more worlds. We got more nothing. God created the world from Himself. Yesh me'ayin is a figure of speech. It's an expression. Yesh me'ayin doesn't mean something from nothing. How do you translate yesh me'ayin in English? Ex nihilo. Ex nihilo means acharei ha'heder. After, I thought in my mother, acharei ha'heder. After nothing. Yesh me'ayin means after nothing there's something. But nothing doesn't mean nothing. Nothing means a non-thing. The Eibishter created the world from Himself. Now, Oid has its style. Dveikis and Gilui and Kiruv. There's so much discussion that ain't safe. But the Metzias of the world is an Oid. The Metzias of the world is Kalim and Levushim and Echolos. Yeah? How did the Eibishter create them? And the answer is, they exist bimtziyusam minatzos. And all of the steps that we describe as creative are not creation, simply bringing them forward.
So Eibishter is only something, and everything's in the something.
Maybe she's called Yeshamiti, correct?
I think there's nothing that's out of the. I mean, since He started, there's no nothing before. There's always leads to something.
In Lyhadus, if you learn Chassidus and you believe in Tzimtzum like Pshutei, the truth is we're still exactly the same now as it was before He made us. No Shina, the whole Shina is for us. Tzimtzum like Pshutei, if you think about it long and hard enough, you'll go nuts. Because it's really a crazy idea. Nothing, there's no Shina. Niyam Ayalai Shanisi is a literal truth. Before the Eibishter created the world, there was nothing. Now the Eibishter created the world, there's still nothing. Yeah, but our entire experience of self is a perspective. It's a piece of what the Eibishter is that's being allowed to feel like it's something other than.
Figment of your imagination.
That's right. And His creativity. His creativity in our imagination. I'm giving you an opportunity to question me now. Any questions or comments? So I thought I'd fall asleep. I brought the poison coffee, but Baruch Hashem, I'm awake. I haven't even drank the water. It's a good to see me. Go ahead.
It's an interesting question, but is this also with regards to both opinions of Son of God and
Of course. No question about it. There's nothing to do with that.
how is it possible to be involved in the Son of God? There is no such thing. I thought it's because there's a Tzimtzum. Or am I just understanding?
You're understanding it wrong. The difference is the question of Eres Mitzuyah, where there's Spheres and Oyer, that's all. The difference is not so big. It makes a big difference, but the difference is not so big. It makes a big difference in terms of the Kavanah. But the difference in Higoyin, if I understand, say the Shtashas, the more you learn it, the closer they become.
The Hazar involved in lots of things, so that's not the thing. There's no such thing as involved in other individuals.
The Eibishter is everything. Period.
So what's the whole Kiddush in here?
Not now, please. Please, not now. One topic at a
You
time.
said that you
Questions on Kalim, not on the whole Siddur.
Vegas built Nikkur that the Kalim and Atzilus are the same thing as earlier saying. They're both double. It's just Vegas built Nikkur. So why does that actually cause a change? Why is that Kalim completely different to Eretz and Atzilus? It's really the same thing. It's just really it's Nikkur.
You know what it means, Bilti Nikkur?
No.
The Rebbe's chair is Kalim Datzilis. Does that bother you? I think the Nasicha. The Rebbe said Nasicha that the Chafetzim of Tzaddik is Kalim Datzilis. Did the Rebbe's chair make you feel, whoa, and himself is in the room? Bilti Nikkur is Bilti Nikkur. Forget. The only reason you know it's a Lakus is when the oil goes in and it doesn't platz. So you know the keli, the only way the keli is able to hold it because it's also davik. But when you look at a keli, you don't see dvekis, you see a matias.
But I'm saying it's Caleb are serving a completely different purpose to Urs, no? Ur and Caleb are serving a purpose, they're doing different things.
They're supposed to join together to make a world. They're supposed to be separated and then join together to make a world.
So ayin is something or it's not?
Say that again.
Ayin is something or not?
Depends on your mood. Ayin is the thing of a non-thing.
There's a reason why you have to make a bunch of kelim and not just an entity called kelim.
Because the nature of Kalim is that they do not divide. The nature of Kalim is they don't have babies. The nature of Kalim, they don't become bigger or smaller. They are whatever they are. They're diamond.
How is Klipa in Osmos?
The same way Kedusha is. No difference.
Klipa is like negative, sure.
But when it's an Atmos, it's not negative. In the Shtalshus, it's negative.
Kelim are higher than artists.
In the Shadish, as I state, but that's called, yeah.
Who said that Kalim have to be? The nature of Kalim must be that they don't have babies and they're all in Atmos. Where is that only from the quote of a Nefesh
Mulei Oasis.
That's the only quote that you know that it's.
No. Never Oasis is the quote that supports the idea that they have all Kalim and Atmos.
Right.
The Chassidus talks about it. The definition of a Keli is that it's like an Evan. It doesn't have babies.
Like a what?
Like an Evan, like a stone.
It says
It says in Sefer Yetzirah. Okay, are you going to let me talk? This is your only opportunity. You get the chance now, and then this is it. We're on the table.
So what's going on? Everything's in Osmos, then what's going on now?
Okay, that's a different conversation.
Gilul.
And we're not having it.
No?
Shalei Kipshute. Everything is like Kipshute. Tzimtzum Rish is like Kipshute. Shtafsha is like Kipshute. Everything is like Kipshute.
Why can't be Gilul? Because it's all already there.
Yeah?
When you remove Atzos, just a kelim just shine. That's what the Ikar is. Not shine, they just become a being.
I don't understand what you're saying, and I don't think you do.
Like say after the next thing.
Kalim and Atzmos have no mitzias whatsoever. None.
Because they're bottle.
Totally.
They totally, but once,
Yeah.
once you move it, then you become an entity.
Correct. And there's a shtalshus that explains how. There's a shtalshus that tells you different steps of the process by which Kalim emerge, become a mitzias.
Is it healthy to think about this?
It's healthy to work hard. Okay. This guy doing so much escafia, it's unbelievable. Escafia is okay, thank you. Appreciate it. The Eibishter for sure appreciates it. Okay, we're learning inside now. Dehine, page Tezayin. It is 7 lines in the mountain. Dehine, Kalim da Atzilas and Bechinas Gvul. The Kalim of Atzilas are the idea of Gvul. And he quotes the Avedis HaKedesh. Guys, I told this during the previous class, and I guess it's good to repeat this, right? The previous Rebbe writes in the Sefer Zacharenis, in the memoirs, that when the Kabbalah of the Baal Shem Tov developed, and the Kabbalah of Baal Shem Tov comes to the Baal Shem before, Reb Odom Baal Shem, Reb Yael Baal Shem, Reb Yoel Baal Shem, and the Friedrich Rebbe holds that Reb Yoel Baal Shem was by the Arizal. As they come from the Zacharenis. That the Kabbalah that we have in Chassidus is built on 3 amudim, right? The Torah writes that there's Gimel Amudei Hira, right? There's whatever it is, the Beis Rivka writes there's the Rambam and the Rif and the Rosh, and there's Gimel Amudei Kabbalah. Our Kabbalah is built on the side of 3 Svarim. And the first is Avodas HaKodesh and Me'er Ben Gabbai. And I want you to know, if there's a book in Kabbalah that is a point of translating into English, it's not the Etz Chaim or the Pri-Etz Chaim or the Sha'arat Gilgulim, which people love to read because it makes them feel whacked out. It's the Sefer Avodas HaKodesh. Because Avodas HaKodesh is a Sefer of Kabbalah that's different than the Ramak and different than the Arizal. Because the Ramak and the Arizal Sfarim are just a map. They just tell you the facts. Avodas HaKodesh is not just the what of Kabbalah, but the why. He actually explains what Kabbalah is. He argued with the Rambam on every page. It's a Rachmanis on the Rambam, Mamish. The last great Gadol to argue with the Rambam is Avodas HaKodesh. In Tanya Perek Beis, that who you day and who you do have a gamma fi Kabbalah Harizal. The Ramak was one generation of the Avodas HaKodesh. He's the first one who, instead of beating up on the Rambam on every page, quotes this lashon who I day and who I do and who Amada to explain the idea of Sfidus. The Avodas HaKodesh, every page he beats us to the Rachmanis on the Rambam, every chance he gets. Because he's the Kabbalah and Chassidus, two worlds. From the Ramak and in the Chassidus Chabad that's on Ashir, we try to make the Rambam consistent with Chassidus and Kabbalah. We try to make it one. It's two different worlds.
Shalom is after or before?
After. Of course, wait, it's Shalom after Arizal. Shalom two right after the Arizal. Avodas HaKodesh before the Ramak. Avodas HaKodesh from the Gerush in Portugal. The Gerush in Portugal was Reish and Beis. The Arizal Shin Lam and Gimel. Sasach Yorim. Shin Lam goes the Stalkus of Arizal, but he passed away almost as soon as he was born. He wasn't even 40. Portugal was Reish and Zion, right? 1497. He was from Gerush in Portugal. The Avodas HaKodesh. This is one of the most famous quotes of Chassidus. Ein Sefer Shleimusa Dekula. Ein Sefer Shleimus. Just like the Ein Seif can do anything he wishes in the realm that's called Bli Gavul, the Eibush can do anything he wishes in the realm of Gavul. If you do not say that, if you hold the Eibush as infinite and not finite, right? Just for fun, let me throw it out. Like Spinoza said, he believed in God and he was an Apokritos. Why? Because he believed in infinity. He believed God is infinite. But he believed that an infinite God cannot be involved in a finite world. So he killed Hashgacha Pratis. He killed Nevuah. He killed... he killed the Eibush connection to us.
He was a Kabbalah, no?
He killed, yeah, of course. He killed the Eibush connection to a dynamic world. The Rambam answers that taine with the idea of Hoyadei Nadu and Uamada. The Avodas HaKodesh says Hashem is everything, including Gvul. The Lashon brings over here. If you hold that Hashem has koiches, the Ein Seif, has keich in the realm of Ein Seif, ve'ein lekeich begavul, he's lacking keich in the realm of Gvul, you're limiting his shleimus. And then he said the words, va'gvul, ha'nim, tzayimenu tchila. The Lashon is, heim ha'kelim, the esesfidus, the atzilus. What does it say here? What's the difference between ha'kelim, the esesfidus, the atzilus, and ha'sfidus? Sfidus means Eid and Keli together. So you ride and we got to eat your heart out. The Rebbe Rashab, this quote, no, it's a Kaddish, is quoted in many Maimonim with many Shinuyim. Now you can buy the Sefer, read it in the original. It was written in Lashon Kodesh. You can see what he actually wrote. And the Rabbeim are constantly tweaking his original Lashon, and there's a reason why it says over here, Hey na Sfidus and not Kelim, even though we're talking about Kelim. And this is a befuddling. It's there to make you think. So the Rebbe Rashab says, "V'hakavana lakelim." The quote of the Kaddish that he brings is the Sfidus, and he translates that it means kelim. Datzilus shein bechin is gvul.
Wait, it says Kalim or it says spheres in the...
The way I remember it says kelim.
So why is that Vana?
That's homework. V'hainu shein begeder umuhus bechin chacham chesed chol. The kelim have a geder, they have a fence. That in English they have a criteria, they have a definition. That's distinct for Chochmah and for Chesed. You know what makes a Keli, that it exists. You know what else makes a Keli, that he's separate from other Keli. And you know what else makes a Keli, that has a character. This one is Chochmah, this one is Chesed, this one is Bina, this one is Gevura, and so on. Okay? I guess I might as well throw this out now because I'm not going to finish my shir anyway tonight. Write this down, okay? Oir has basically, and I'm not even sure what the rules are. The Oir has basically 4 rules. Okay? It's beligavul, and it's gilui, and it's achtus, and it's kiruf. It's beligavul. I'm not even saying about it. Beligavul and achtus. Beligavul and gilui and achtus and kiruf. Right? Kalim are Gvul and Helim and Havdolah and Hischalkus. Each one of these 4 words is a whole world. So you have to understand the meaning of the word gvul, and helim, and havdalah, and ischalkus. Havdalah means separated from the source, and ischalkus means separated from one another. If you have a red hot coal sitting here, yeah, and there's flame coming out of it, and you have a red hot coal sitting here, and there's a flame coming out of it, and you have a red hot coal sitting here and flame, yeah, and you put them together, immediately the flames become one. But the 10 coals are still 10 coals. That's the difference in Keli. When you put 2 oyers together, you have 1 oyer. It's just the nature of oyer. Kelim are always separate. You know where the separation begins? In Atzmas and Hus.
Keli causes Elam or Tzelem?
Keli is caused by Helam. And it is Helam. And it causes Helam. All 3 things are true. It only exists because it's Helam. Its Metzias is Helam. And its influence on Oid is also Helam.
There's no existence in Helm. It only exists not without Helm.
But in Atzmas it doesn't exist.
Don't give me that.
I'm giving that to you. In Atzmus it's bottle.
It exists, but it's not. But it's bottled.
Okay, so fine. So the lumdus would be that in Atzmus it's the Inyan of Helam in Atzmus and Hus. But our Maimon says, hello, I need your attention, that Caleb begins in Atzilus. Make up your mind. What's the answer?
Savosu.
That you see them. The Vedas Kodesh says that Hagvol Hanim Tzomim, the first place that is the Matthias of Caleb, that you could call a Matthias, Bifnei Atzmei is the Caleb of Matthias. They exist, not they exist higher. Caleb are Mushrish and Atzmus. Conversation over. Lamalena weiter. The Iker Matthias Bechinas Chachma V'Chesed, the primary form which is linked to the character of Chachma and Chesed is Caleb. Now we know that Oid also has Chachma and Chesed, right? Lefi Derush Zeh, but Iker Bechinas Chachma V'Chesed isn't the Caleb. So the first thing is that Caleb have character, right? I want to say that the first thing is that Caleb are separate. They're separate. The second thing is that Caleb have character. And then comes V'Gam, in addition, Yeshma Magbola. In addition to being separate and having character, have a limit by his pashas and how far they radiate. If Caleb go too far, it's no good. And he brings one of the most controversial statements ever written in Kabbalah. Okay, there's a medrash called Shir Koima. It's from the times of the Tanoim. For those who do not know, there's a lot of wacky medrashim that you can't find in the stores. But there was a Yid named Eisenstadt, who lived about 100 years ago. He was a Goan Oilam. He was very modern. He was mistama like conservative. I mean, conservative then is firmer than Orthodox today. I don't know exactly what he believed, but his svarim are all called Oitzer. Oitzer Yisrael, Oitzer Vikuchim, Oitzer Hagodis. All of his svarim are called Oitzer. And he has Oitzer Medrashim, 2 krachim. His svarim are Gvaldik. And everybody steals him and nobody quotes him. Why? He was a genius. He made an encyclopedia called Eitz Yisrael. It's in 5 volumes, 10 volumes originally. The Rebbe had it in his room. The Rebbe had his son in his room. So the people make encyclopedias. Everyone steals. No chas v'sham, they should quote him. But he was a real god. He wasn't a Johnny come lately Talmud Chacham. You know what I'm saying? He was an Ilu. He was a genius. And he has 2 karachim called Eitz Midrashim. So the classic medrashim, he just tells you the history of the medrash, where it comes from, like the medrash Rabbah and medrash Choma. But there's a lot of medrashim which have been found in the last few hundred years in different places, which are very obscure, and they're quite short. And he prints the whole medrash. So if you can get hold of this medrash, I own it in my house. I can have it in my home. He has a medrash called Pirkei Acholos. The Pirkei Acholos is attributed to Rabbi Akiva, Oyster Rabbi Akiva. I don't know what it's called. It's very controversial. A lot of people scream that this medrash is gefährlich. It's kfir command. For many reasons, and this is one of them, because this medrash tells you exactly how big Hashem is. Look inside. How tall is Hashem? Simple English. In some places, Reish, Ramavav, Aleph, Alafim, Riva, Revav is Parsais. Okay, there's bigger numbers, but it's Al Gvul, yeah? Alafim, Revavis means 10 million. Aleph, Alafim means 1 million. Riva, Revavis means 100 million. So it becomes 100 trillion. So the English gets bigger if you have the longer version. Elef, Alaf, Riva. How tall is Hashem? He's measured in kilometers, in parsois. No, parsois is not a kilometer. Parsois is 4 kilometers, 4 million. Hashem has a certain height.
What does it do with Kalim though?
Hold on a second. Let's do it gvul. What's the marker for it? A pasuk we say in davening every day. Godel adeneinu verav kayach. In the capital Tilma about gvudas, right? No. The third halacha. How does it start?
Hallelujah.
Today's Amar Lekenu. It's Halukah about Lekenu. That whole capital, you'll notice, all about Gvura. Everything is about Gvura. Mene, counts, everything is Gvura. The whole capital is Gvura. So it says, God lad nene Rav Keach. So it says in Shir mentioned Pichacholos that the Rav Koyach V'Rav is 208, and Koyach is 28. 208 and 28 is 236. So how big is Hashem? 236. Reish Lamed Vav. Now, but then you got to put millions, put big numbers, so it becomes a little more palpable. But he Poshet describes the Eibishter as being, so people who wrote Sfarim on this medrash go crazy. The problem is from the Tanoim. From the Tanoim, Mishpat with the Tanoim. There's a Rambam in Mir Nevuchim where he beats him with the Pirkei Rabbi Lezer, so it's called the Mamish Kfirah. You know my water built in that same Pirkei Rabbi Lezer? The Chokrim have their approach. The Rambam beats up with the Pirkei Rabbi Lezer. What's the Merokkiness? The Rambam says, treif, tell us nicht sagen. Here's the pshat. But this is one of those Midrashim which is very controversial. Okay? And this means Rabbi Yossi Atzilus. Shir koima sheitza bereishes reish elef alafim yediv revayit. Besides, Atzilus has a certain size. It doesn't mean the Eibush Chas v'Shalom, but it does mean a lakus, because the Pirkei is talking about lakus, and it gives you the size of Atzilus, whatever that means. But the Rebbe Rashab says even more. Look, Keminyan v'Rav Koyach. You see, Zog the Rebbe v'Yashleima the Shir ba'Agbala Leis Fumei B'Biyad. The emes is Atzilus you can't call measured. And the Chiddush L'chayre here is that not only you can't call the Eres of Atzilus measured, you can't even call the Kelim of Atzilus measured. The Hayru Kasha Nimshach Bebriya, when Atzilus comes into Briya, it's Bebechinas Misper, because that has this number. Ava Batzilus, where it is in Atzilus, Eina Bechinas Shir, Umida Adayim Mispashtusan. In Atzilus, there's not really Gvul, it's some other thing. Now, I don't know. But I think that Rebbe is going to change his mind about this. I think we're going to come to the conclusion that Atzilus is Gevul. Another course. But right now he says, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm deciding for the Rebbe, saying that the Rebbe Rashab does it right, that Atzilus is not Gevul, and you'll see in Perigid Beis, which is like the Pedic of this Hemshech, with the Rebbe Rashab, the big revolution of Ayin Beis is in Perigid Beis. That's where the Rebbe Shab brings the Shita Hamufasamith and he slugs it up. Before the Ayin Beis, they used to Lashon Koyach HaGavol. Atzilus is called Koyach HaGavol. And the Rebbe Rashab is going to argue that Koyach HaGavol doesn't make any sense. He said, no, it's not Koyach HaGavol, it's whatever it is, it's Gavol Mamish, or whatever the Hezbet is. But the Revaili here, he says that this doesn't even go on Atzilus, it goes on Briyak, Mashikosov, but Makamachet, the Klos in Agvul, the Kelim. That when you speak about the Kelim being Begvul, the Gvul is not in Atzilus, the Gvul is outside Atzilus, but Atzilus ain't a Bechinas Gvul. And the Chiddush here is that not just the Eidos of Atzilus are not Gvul, the Kelim of Atzilus are also not Gvul. And again, we'll find out later whether the Rebbe stays by this when we learn Perikid Beis, or he's going to change it. But this is what he says over here. And he says, V'zehu, this idea that we speak about Kelim being Gvul. Yeah, how many of these we bring? Number one, it has character. I want to say, before you read the Maimon, number one, Kelim are separate from each other. Number two, Kelim of character. And number three, Kelim of limit. So the Rebbe Rashab says, when I say this third idea, that Kelim of limit, the limit of Kelim Atzilus, you see in Elam Abriya. Because in Atzilus, it's still whatever the words, Beligavul, Keach HaGavul, I'm not sure what. And then he says, Azei Shedechet Sefer Yitzira, Midas and Eser She'ein Lahem Sof. On the one hand, they have a number, 10 spheres. On the other hand, they're ain't safe. That even the Kelim of Atzilus, Ein Lahem Gevul, they have no limit. On the other hand, even though The kelim of Atzilus are only going to be gvul when they go into El Mabriya. Gam kamesh hein b'Atzilus, even they're not Atzilus, even if they're not gvul, but they're b'chinas mitzias. Maybe they're not gvul, but they're mitzias. Maybe they're not limited, but they're a form, and the form is midas v'keiches.
So where does this mitzias and midas keiches start? Because it was before Atzilus.
From Atzilus.
So it's mitzias and midas starts in Atzilus.
Why?
And his hava starts.
Why? Why? Because it's gilui. He doesn't speak about his havas. He speaks about gvul.
I'm asking because.
He speaks about gvul. He doesn't speak about his havas. He speaks about gvul.
So Gvul starts in Atzilus.
Gvul, he says,
But isn't Gvul like
it started because of Atzilus, but you're going to see it not in Atzilus, but in Bria. That's what it says over here.
But is Gvul and Kalim the same idea? Kalim are Gvul.
There's 4 things that know about Caleb.
Right. So does Gvul? So is Gvul?
Elam and Akbala and Avdallah.
So
and
Gvul-
Chalchus. But the Rebbe Rashab is saying that even though Atzilus is the beginning of Gvul, the Gvul of Atzilus you don't see in Atzilus, you see it
There's
in
Gvul and
Bria.
Atmos, obviously, right?
In Atmos there's nothing.
Is Gvul? Gvul is in Atmos, but not Nicker in Atmos, but it's in Atmos. So Gvul is Nicker in Atzilus, or Gvul is Nicker in Bria? Kilo, where's Gvul Nicker in Atzilus, Bria? Because it can't be Nicker over there, although it's there.
I don't know. I don't know.
But Kalim are Ersh Nicker,
I understand.
but then so Gvul and Kalim are the same thing?
Not exactly.
You said they are.
Okay. Confusion is a sign of intelligence. Now, then the Rebbe goes to Oid, right? Aval Oid is ein da bechims is this, and Oid is tomorrow's shir. So we're skipping Oid, okay? You're skipping Oid. Okay? And if you read these 10 lines of Oid, which I'm hoping to do tomorrow, I'm not telling you what time I'm starting the shir tomorrow. I may decide to start early. And even tonight, I as early as I started it, you can see it's not early enough. Yeah? He starts talking about Tzimtzum Rishon. And he speaks about the effect of Tzimtzum Rishon on Oir. And then he says, Umikom mokom ikir. It's the line that begins with the word mishkal. It's about halfway down the page. You see it? Umikom mokom ikir at Tzimtzum b'shul savsakel. Even though Tzimtzum Rishon has an effect on Oir, the primary idea of Tzimtzum Rishon affects Kalim. And the lashon that he uses is his havos haKalim. Translate Hebrew, his havos, the creation of Kalim. Now, yeah, but if you see, but based on what I told you, his havos kalim doesn't mean that the tzimtzum which creates the kalim, it creates the mitzias of kalim. What's the makar of kalim? Kalim come from atmos amhus, like everything else. Now, but then it's kumt areis durch tzimtzum rishon. Now, I don't have enough time, but I'll start. Okay, I'll start. What would happen if we daven might have late? Are you in for that?
Are we mean?
We're more than a minute, but I have to stick around. Can I get you to stay another 15 minutes? Raise your hand.
There's something
There's like a serious second
Okay,
spot.
fine. So forget it. So tomorrow's going to be Vayta Kalim. I have to finish this. Tzimtzum Rishon serves many purposes. Okay, Tzimtzum Rishon serves many purposes. Many purposes. You asked me if I'm finishing the Maimer this week. I hope I finish it next week. Tzimtzum Rishon serves many purposes, okay? One of the purposes that Tzimtzum Rishon serves, I need your attention please, is to separate